13 on the Mondo Movie Countdown. So, drum roll please for number 13. It's the 1961 film Nude on the Moon, directed by Doris Wishman. Some spoilers may occur, although I pretty promise that I'll do my best to avoid that. Thank you for joining me. I have to talk about Doris Wishman because she is, of the sort of B-movie exploitation films, she's the biggest woman director. She's up there probably with like Russ Myers and others in terms of the exploitation and sort of nudie cutie and sort of B-movie canon. And she's entirely self-made, which is impressive as well. So she was this woman, she borrowed money from her sister, she started making movies, she made like nudist films, you know, and they used to make sort of nudist documentaries to make pulp films, and she made a lot of those. And then she kind of like verged into softcore porn. Then she went into hardcore porn, and she couldn't even watch it herself, she had to leave the room. And then she went into sort of pulp exploitation movies about transsexuals and stuff like that. And then she actually went into full-on horror slashers. So she kind of always had her finger on the pulse of what exploitation the masses wanted, or the underground masses wanted at least, because I don't think she ever was very mainstream. So I have to say about Nude on the Moon, I got to admit, it's undeniably boring. It is a boring movie. But I really like it aesthetically and for other reasons. And it's the kind of movie I have a projector, so I like to project it on the wall during like a cocktail party, or if people are just hanging out, because it can be on and it's sort of visually pleasing without, you really don't have to care about the storyline. So, I mean, there is a vague storyline, but it's like a guy goes to the moon, his secretary's in love with him. Then there's just like the whole movie is just an excuse for sort of pin-upness, for sort of just like sort of pin-up models sort of prancing about in this alien land, and it's just nothing really happening. And then maybe just vague interactions, and then he goes back and there's like a quickly bookmarked ending. And the secretary on Earth is like the queen of the moon. But, so even though, I gotta admit, beware, it is boring, I have to give props to this movie because it's shot at Coral Castle, and Coral Castle is this place that I'm obsessed with. It's just outside Miami, and it is a sort of a stone, giant pieces of stone sort of castle, but more like a landscape, because some parts of it aren't an actual structure, they're kind of like a stone garden. And that's the set for Nude on the Moon, and it's a really great set, and the girls, the alien babes, look super great on it, and it's all just sort of pin-up modeling type things, but it's just sort of pastel yumminess looking. And Coral Castle was made, it's really fascinating because it was made by this man, Edward Leedskalnin. He was a Latvian immigrant, and the story is he was in Latvia, he was in love with a girl who he called Sweet 16, and they were to be married. They're both very young, they're about to get married, and then she jilted him the day before the wedding. So he emigrated to Miami, and then he spent years building this Coral Castle as a monument to her, or like to get her back, or a monument to her, to his love. And people say that it was mystical, or that he used supernatural forces to make it, because he was like a very slight Latvian man, and they didn't understand how he made it all by himself with no machines or anything, just like lugging rocks. And the rocks are like in huge unbroken pieces. So anyways, Coral Castle I was kind of like really fascinated with the set when I first saw this movie. And also, even though the beginning's boring and just for visual purposes, the beginning is absolutely hilarious because, you know, he's a scientist and he's going to the moon, and it's just, the whole thing is hilariously unfeasible. And so he's just like, oh, I'm going to the moon tomorrow. And so he gets in his car and he's driving, and I'm pretty sure it's in real time. So he drives to the parking lot, you know, where his special space rocket is, and he's just so calm, like go to the moon. He's driving in real time. You witness like the whole drive to the place. He gets out, you know, checks his keys are in his pocket. he gets in a space rocket and goes to the moon. There's no press, no one's interested. He just goes, and I think like there's a few token sciencey bits, like, you know, going to the moon isn't a bed of roses. It's a bit hard, so he gets a headache, you know, or something, and then he just appears on the moon, and they've got these great, just Power Rangers-esque, like ridiculous, like one-piece moon suits and everything, and then from then on there, it's just like sort of an exercise in the pin-up model tree modeling around the garden. So yeah, if you're having a cocktail party, I'd definitely throw on Nude on the Moon, and it will make you want to go to Coral Castle for sure. If you've liked my film reviews, then please subscribe.